Hello dear friends, welcome to Top Scholars. Today we will learn about the diagram labels of one important diagram of chapter 8, Circulatory System. And the diagram is blood cells. 1. Red blood cells. 2. Various white blood cells and platelets. Let's begin. In this diagram, we can see red blood cells. They are commonly called RBCs and they are disc-shaped and also known as erythrocytes. Second is white blood cells, also known as WBC. The main types of white blood cells, leukocytes, are neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, all granulocytes, lymphocytes, B cells and T cells, and monocytes. And third, we can see platelets. Platelets are also called thrombocytes, are tiny cell fragments in our blood that help with clotting. That's the basic understanding about blood cell labels. Next diagram is blood clotting. Let us take a look at a very simple yet important diagram to help us understand blood clotting. Observe the illustration. It is divided into 3 stages, each showing a blood vessel labeled with distinct elements that help us visualize the process of blood clotting. In the first stage, we see a blood vessel with a label indicating that the vessel is damaged. Red blood cells, RBCs, are clearly visible within the vessel and the broken section highlights where the injury occurs. In the second stage, you can see how platelets gather at the site of damage, forming what the diagram calls a platelet plug. Notice how these small platelets cluster around the damaged area to prevent further blood loss. Finally, we have reached the third stage. It is labeled fibrin threads. Here we observe long thread-like strands that form a mesh across the injury or wound. These fibrin threads trap red blood cells, creating a stable clot. The diagram specifically points out the RBCs becoming entangled in these fibrin threads, effectively sealing the wound. By focusing on each label, vessel is damaged, platelet plug, fibrin threads, RBCs and clot, you can clearly track how blood clotting takes place to prevent blood loss at the site of injury. Although we are not discussing the detailed functions of each component, recognizing these stages and labels is still important. Next diagram is concept, internal structure of human heart. Diagram is heart. Let's begin. The human heart is like a pump that sends blood throughout our bodies. It's about the size of a fist and located slightly to the left of the center of our chest. The heart is divided into 4 main parts called chambers. The 2 upper chambers are called atria, singular atrium, and the 2 lower chambers are called ventricles. The septum refers to the tissue that divides the heart. Blood comes into the heart through the atria. The right atrium receives blood from the body that is low in oxygen and needs to be replenished. The left atrium receives oxygen-rich blood from the lungs. When the atria contract, they push the blood into the ventricles. The heart has valves between each chamber to make sure blood flows in the right direction. The valves open to let blood through and then close to prevent it from flowing backward. The tricuspid valve is the valve located between the right ventricle and auricle. The bicuspid or mitral valve is located in same way between left side of the heart. Then comes the pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein. Pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs, while the pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs back to the heart, completing the pulmonary circuit. Then comes the superior and inferior vena cava. They are the 2 largest veins in the body, responsible for returning deoxygenated blood from the upper and lower parts of the body, respectively, to the heart's right atrium. And then comes chordae tendineae. They are actually fibrous cords that connect the heart's valve leaflets to the papillary muscles. Overall, the heart works continuously to pump blood throughout the body, delivering oxygen and nutrients to cells and carrying away waste products like carbon dioxide. Next diagram is structural difference between artery and vein. As you can see in the picture, both have an external layer, a middle layer, and endothelium and lumen. External layer is made up of connective tissues and middle layer is made up of smooth muscles and elastic fibers. An artery carries blood away from the heart to any organs and they have thick muscular walls, a narrow lumen, whereas vein have thin muscular walls and a wider lumen. That's all about the structural difference between artery and vein. Next diagram is double circulation. The next one is a very simple diagram, but it is extremely important from an exam point of view. Here we have a general plan of double circulation of blood in the human body, which belongs to the chapter, the circulatory system. If you notice, the diagram is clearly separated into two main pathways: pulmonary or lung circulation at the top and systemic body circulation at the bottom. Notice how the diagram is color-coded, with blue representing deoxygenated blood and red representing oxygenated blood. At the center, you can see the representation of the heart. It is split into two differently colored halves. Now notice the arrows. They show the direction of blood flow. One set of vessels leads from the heart to the lungs and back, labeled as pulmonary circulation, while another set loops throughout the body, labeled as systemic circulation. The top portion illustrates the path that connects the heart to the lungs, while the lower portion shows the path between the heart and the rest of the body. By focusing on these labels, that is the pulmonary circulation, the systemic circulation, and the directional arrows, you can easily identify the dual pathways of the double circulation in human beings. That's all about the general plan of double circulation of the blood.